boardroom. This is the business of esports. As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner, YouGov, offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports weekly news show / post podcast live stream. I am Paul Dewalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, the Honorable Judge Jimmy Barata. For those of you who are new here, welcome. What we do is we cover the most pressing gaming and esports topics and news of the week, but we look at all of it through a business and C-suite lens. We dissect, we analyze the business implications of everything happening in this industry, and best of all, we get to do it live with you guys. So we encourage you to ask questions, to get involved, to get in our faces. It makes it that much more fun. I'm sorry we're so late today. I know our start time is usually 8:30. Sharp. We are so late today because of technical difficulties. And because I brought a little surprise on the podcast today. You guys are maybe wondering why it's just Jimmy and I. Jimmy, I don't know. I feel like we should just do the show, the two of us, no?
We'll probably get a lot done. I'm sure it'll be a great analysis. None of the riffraff or the distraction of past episodes. But that's just me. So
that's it. Nothing to distract us, right? Just to get to the hard-hitting analysis. No, I'm just kidding. We do have the juice, and we do have the boss in studio.
Where did you come from?
So I just learned something tonight. Paul does that whole intro every time live, which I sort of knew, but he also does it without reading from a script.
With literally on video when he does it. How did you not know it was live?
Well, I knew it. Okay, I knew it was live, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that he didn't read from a script. He has that whole thing memorized from the keyboard, the metaverse, the whatever.
I mean, when you do it 300 times, hopefully I remember it.
I'm impressed.
So guys, you're gonna be stuck with this sort of strange format, but it's cool because we have three of us at least in the same room. Sorry, Jimmy, we'd love to have you here.
Dang West Coasters.
I know. We may have to do like this. so
that works for me.
So you could see. But no, Owen says, "What's up, guys?" Hey, Owen, great to see you. Kevin says, a true professional, Paul. Look, this was not my idea, okay? This was not my idea. This was the juice.
Sometimes the talent comes up with good ideas. You know?
Our Sanity says hello. Our Sanity, hello. Welcome. Guys, I just want to, before we jump into some stories, and you'll be able to finally see the true animosity between Lindsay and Jeff. You'll be able to see just how much these two really hate each other. Finally, in person, it's all going to come out.
Yeah. Barely stand being next to you. It's terrible.
This is awkward.
Owen says, why the juice looking so dapper tonight? Jeez.
I mean, I don't have my traditional hat on that I normally wear. Is it my $20 bomber jacket that I got on e-commerce?
Is it Swedish? Is it Swedish?
No, the hat is Swedish. The jacket is from Amazon, I'm pretty sure.
We do have a great show tonight, guys. So many topics to discuss. Jeffrey says, hey, guys. Jeffrey, so glad to have you. I'm sorry we're late, guys. And I doubly appreciate everyone being here in spite of that tardiness. just a little teaser on the podcast this week. We had Eric Lay, who's the CEO of Elventus, very cool coaching and consulting business. Essentially, if you're looking for the absolutely best, top-notch League of Legends coaching experience on the planet, it's these guys. He played at the highest level as a League of Legends player. Totally interesting insight into the journey to becoming a pro player, and then how he's transitioned to the coaching business and what makes them different. So definitely recommend tuning into that episode. I'd also love everyone's feedback. If you haven't checked it out already, the professor, William Collis, his new show, Office Hours. Did you guys like it? Do you like it? Did you not like it? Was it so good?
I really liked it. I thought it was so fun.
I mean, it was cool, no?
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it.
It really was. I'm loath to give William credit sometimes. I love William to death. We're colleagues, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I thought the graphics were kind of fun and whimsical, and I'm excited to see. He made it interesting, the fact that Riot changed their logo, which is genuinely not that interesting, but he did a great job making it interesting. So I'm excited to see what he cooks up next.
I particularly love this whole setup here, guys, because it looks like I'm the player and you guys are in the box commentating, like we've got the two color commentators.
Paul coming down the field for another shot on goal.
Owen says $20 bomber jacket looking like a $25 jacket is all I'm saying.
Nice.
Oh, this is high praise. Michael says, hello guys. Michael, welcome. Arsanity says, where can I find the episode? So the cool part about Office Hours, Arsanity, is it's part of the Business of Esports. So if you're already subscribed to the Business of Esports, you'll get the episodes in your podcast feed. If you watch the Business of Esports, it'll be on all of our channels, and it'll be on the Business of Esports website, which is thebusinessofesports.com. So all the places you get Business of Esports content, you will be able to find Office Hours with the professor. But I would love everyone's feedback. I know, William, if you like the show, let him know, let us know. It's a concept that I don't think anyone has done yet. He gives a letter grade to the things he talks about every week, and it's a deep dive into one topic. So he doesn't cover a bunch of news. It's just one topic every week with a letter grade. So that's what you guys have to look forward to. Arsanity says, sick, thanks. Not a problem. All right, guys, we have a great show. Let's jump into some news here. And I want to start with Valve. Just shameless plug, Jeff and I did an episode of Meta Business today. They drop every Monday, but we actually talked quite a bit about Valve on Meta Business, specifically about Gabe Newell's comments on, who's the CEO of Valve, his comments on the metaverse and NFTs and where he thought that was going. But I think it's worth discussing sort of what's going on in the more proper gaming world around Valve, because there's news there as well. So let me just first bring up, I think, the big news, because all the reviews dropped this week, and that is the Valve's new console, essentially the Steam Deck. So this article here, this headline from IGN, the headline is, Gabe Newell sees Steam Deck as having an impact like the iPhone on PC gaming. And the subheadline is, and it only gets better from here on out for PC gamers. So Steam Deck officially released. All the reviews are crazy good. Like basically everyone has said this is the, sort of the second coming of Christ. And demand supposedly sky high. Everyone, there's a ton of pre-orders that they're fulfilling. But basically what they're saying, at least Valve believes, and Gabe Newell believes, that this portable device is essentially the future of PC gaming, because all of your Steam games, according to him, you will be able to run on your Steam Deck, right? So it'll be like having a $500 PC in your hands, and still able to play all of your PC games. So curious, what do you guys think? You think this is, I joked about Stadia when they got on stage and they talked about the future of gaming. Is this the future of gaming? Is this where we see PC gaming going? And what do you guys think of the initial impressions of the Steam Deck?
it's not the future of gaming, but it is a great product, and I think it does make gaming a bit more accessible where you're able to play it. I think all of us were pretty bullish on this when it was first announced back, I believe, in the fall. So I think we still are bullish, and the reviews sort of prove that out, that we as a group were collectively pretty right. It's not going to revolutionize things, but I think it's a creative product that's a useful piece of the gaming ecosystem where people can now take more hardcore PC games and kind of bring them on the go. So kudos to Steam for executing.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jeff, being the hardcore PC gamer that he is has just been over the moon over having access to his whole Steam library in this extremely
massive Steam library.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. No, but in all honesty, I do think that this is really cool. I'm both surprised and not surprised that it's a smash hit. I'm surprised because Steam has tried to put out consoles before and it hasn't necessarily been the most successful. And I'm also not surprised because I think the Switch and some other, even mobile gaming, give kind of a better blueprint for what people might be looking for. So they're able to take an idea and iterate and make it even better, which is somewhat easier than coming up with your own console and coming up with your own handheld console and coming from nothing. So,
I mean, two questions for you guys. And Jimmy, I'm curious to get you in on this. Like, first of all, does anyone think that, like, is anyone bearish on Steam Deck for whatever reason, and maybe one particular aspect of it? But the second question that I've been hearing, right, like the whispers that I hear around Steam Deck is, this is the first time that Nintendo could be in trouble from a console perspective. Like, does anyone think, now that we've seen it, now that the reviews are good, now that we know, and let me just answer Owen's question here. He says, I thought Destiny was not ported to the deck. Owen, you're right. So the way they're launching is there's like games that are certified to work on Steam Deck. There's a group that they're not sure may work. And then there's a group that are totally unsupported and basically they know won't work. So the goal, I think Gabe Newell has said, is to make sure eventually every Steam game runs on the Steam Deck. Every Steam game runs on Steam Deck. But day one, that's not the case. So anyone think this is a real challenge to Nintendo?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing I did this weekend at least, because, Elden Ring is a massive success, right? Everyone's talking about it. You can't get away from it. Looks great. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm looking forward to playing it and just getting that free time. The first thing I did was like, hey, is this available on Switch? Because I could just play in bed while I'm, and it's not, right? And in so many games you see that Switch isn't supporting, or for whatever reason they're just not going there. But I'm going to play it on my Steam Deck, right? I mean, that might be a ways out and I might have to wait a bit for that. But that was like indicative, I think, of the larger issue that Steam Deck solves. And that's that there's a huge library of games that hardcore gamers or longtime gamers, I mean, I've had a Steam account for over 15 years, right? And I'm sure other people, gaming's aging up, and I know there's a massive young community that's just starting, but this is, again, a massive community with older gamers as well, that I think, like you said, Paul, if they could solve that issue on what's compatible, which I think they'll spend a lot of time and money doing, because it just that makes sense to make it this savior, right? This save all, this capture all. I don't know. I feel like they took a page out of Xbox and PlayStation with the backwards compatibility, and seeing what a massive success that was to keep loyalty amongst the progressive generations. So if Steam Deck can provide that same support, where it's other handheld, because you got to compare it to other handheld competitors, right? Because it's really an add-on accessory for hardcore gamers. So there's nothing stopping a PlayStation or an Xbox owner from having one. It's really just redundant, I think, of a Switch or something else.
So you don't think that there's any cannibalization, Jimmy? You don't think anyone will second guess buying a Switch as a consequence of the Steam Deck existing?
That's what I'm saying. I think the Steam Deck's going to dominate, or rather take market share from the Switch.
Okay, so
I do not.
Why?
Because I think that the Nintendo's never, third-party software on Nintendo has never really been a big thing. People buy Nintendo consoles to play Nintendo games. The only two times Nintendo's really been in trouble was Nintendo GameCube and the Wii U, when they put out consoles that completely bombed. The Switch has sold incredibly well. It has a massive install base. their games are super popular. I think the next time Nintendo will potentially be in trouble is the next console that they go to launch, just because it seems like every other console they launch is a flop. But that, to me, doesn't have anything to do with the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is a great piece of hardware, and it will be great for, hardcore gamers like yourselves who want to play Apex Legends on the go, want to play Elden Ring, stuff like that. That's not who's buying the Switch. Who's buying the Switch is people who want to play Super Mario and want to play, Zelda and stuff like that. And until those games come out on Steam Deck, people are going to want to buy the Switch. So tell me when that happens, and then I'll be worried about Nintendo.
Lindsay, can you kick Jeff under the chair for me right there? Since you guys
I'm
are
on
there
Jeff's
with him.
side. I don't know what to do with this.
I mean,
Yeah.
Isn't there like at some point people just stop caring about the 200th Mario game that's exactly the same as the 199th Mario game?
Listen, Paul, I'm people and I won't stop caring.
Fair.
Apologies, but it's true. No, I do think that they're actually quite different markets. I think that a lot of probably hardcore gamers, I think you will see a small drop in Switch for sure, because I think a lot of hardcore gamers have been looking forward to something like the Steam Deck coming out and actually being able to replace the Switch, a la Jimmy's story there. But I think for the most part, they are actually really different audiences, and I think that there's room for both to be successful. Like I said, small amounts of competition, but I don't think it's huge.
Let me just get caught up
I don't have great eyesight.
on the comments here.
But
So
I feel
Owen
like
says,
I just got owned by Kevin.
Jeff and Lindsay, be honest, how many tabs do you see on Paul's screen?
Oh my
This
God,
is nothing.
Countless.
This is nothing.
Countless. And there's
This is
multiple
nothing.
windows.
It's got to be
I
75
already know.
plus.
I already know that there's multiple windows here. Like,
55?
there's also multiple screens. A
This,
whole lot.
this is nothing.
I saw Paul's email inbox, by the way, last week. Tens of thousands. of unread
39,000.
emails.
I got a
that
brief
explains-
Are you
glimpse.
looking at it right now?
Owen says, I thought Destiny. Yeah, I read that one. Sorry. Wani says, hello, Wani. Welcome.
Hey,
Great
Wani.
to have you here. Kevin says, if true, that would mean the future of gaming is controller greater than mouse and keyboard. Look, what I wonder with this is, in some ways, I actually think I'd rather see a successful Steam Deck than I'd rather see successful mobile games. Do you know what I mean? Like, meaning like a game you play on your phone. I've always tried to make the argument that it's the gateway drug. Eventually, people level up and want a gaming PC for the experience. And I feel like there's a big gap, though, right? There's a big jump with Steam Deck. Yeah, you might play some games on your Steam Deck and you're going to use the controller, and you might be used to controller, but you're going to want to level up to a mouse and keyboard and a full-blown gaming PC. I think it's more of a gateway drug.
Let me just set the scene for all our viewers of where we are right now. We are surrounded by more equipment and hardware than I've ever seen in my entire life. So I am
And it
zero,
took a half hour to figure out how to make it work.
I am 0% surprised that the guy who loves hardware this much is saying, "Oh, I don't want these old mobile phones that can do a bunch of stuff. I want dedicated gaming hardware to be the thing that's the gateway drug."
Look, I will say that if the Steam Deck is massively successful, no question, I think you will have PC gaming see a resurgence, like proper mouse and keyboard PC gaming. Does anyone disagree with that? Because you're going to buy something on Steam to play on your Steam Deck, right? And then it doesn't cost you anything else to go play it on your PC. I look, every time someone says the PC is dead, there's always something that saves it. I don't think it's going anywhere, and I don't think mouse and keyboard's going anywhere. If anything, it's just more people on controller to beat up on in games.
Paul, you know what's going to save it?
What?
Web3 gaming.
Web3 game, yeah.
No idea what's coming.
Blockchain fixes this.
Chris says stick drift happens with the Steam Deck too, so no, Nintendo is in no threat. I mean, Chris, that happened with the Joy-Con controllers also. They had their own, Nintendo did have a bunch of controversy around drift with Joy-Con, so that seems to be everyone. Simple Orphan says yes. Owen says, Paul in shambles after that comment, Kevin. I mean, in shambles if it comes true, but it won't. I mean, when that day comes, and it's never come. Right? I've been hearing this for 20 years. That day's not coming. Wani says, I think it would be a real challenge. Owen says, people who buy the Switch will also buy the deck for different reasons. Switch is for the large exclusive library, and the deck is for serious gaming on the go. I mean, do you guys buy that that will be the delimiter? Like, does this kill the Switch non-exclusive business? No one's going to buy, I'm trying to think of a good example.
Like that. Although having said that, there's a massive install base. So like there is still an incentive for people to put third parties were very rarely putting stuff on the Switch anyway. This could hamper that, but there is still a big install base. So you probably will see some big titles be ported to it to the extent that it's easy. But I will buy that way more than I will buy, Nintendo's dead or the Switch is dead. I do think this limits the reason why a third party would put a game like Apex on the Switch.
Does that mean you think you'll see developers stopping, like won't even bother porting games to the Switch? Like we'll see even fewer and fewer as a consequence? Like, are we taking this to its logical conclusion and Nintendo becomes totally like, what do you call it? Like not reclusive, but like walled in with its own hardware and its own software and no one even bothers developing for it?
That's kind of what it is already.
Right? It's true. Yeah, it's
true.
Wani says, because I would definitely play LA Noire on the Steam Deck. I mean, I'm telling you, people I think are going to rediscover their libraries, their Steam libraries, because of the Steam Deck. I think
Animal Crossing and Pokemon can't save
I want to just
Nintendo.
push back on that, Paul. Like,
yes, Jimmy, yes. Did you hear that?
Animal Crossing and Pokemon, and then Jeff.
He said anime and Pokemon and Animal Crossing can't save Nintendo. I agree, it can't forever. Can't forever.
That was a business model 20 years ago, right? You want exclusive titles, you want long franchises that you can just milk the IP. But what kids want today is free to play and a giant library of content for their like never ending, like change in focus. The Steam Deck is giving them all these free PC games in the handheld format. I think they're going to put down the Switch. They're going to pick up the Steam Deck. And why would I go back? Why would I spend $300 to play 3 games? It's not going to happen.
The hardcore gamers are trying to bully us here.
Yeah, we are trying. Maxi says, I don't think Steam Deck could beat out Switch either. Can't spell. I mean, I guess it depends how hardcore of a Nintendo fan you are. But Kevin says, I hate being on Jeff's side too. I mean, no one
bone to pick about that.
No one likes it, Kevin. You feel a little dirty, I
mean, it must be tough being right? Like, you must feel bad being right.
Kevin says every Mario Party is a smash hit. Yeah.
Nice. See what you did there.
That is clever. That's true. Owen says nostalgia is a hell of a drug, Paul. Yes, but I do think there is a point where this wears off, right? Like, I don't know how long nostalgia can carry a franchise.
I know, but they create future.
Like, I was a huge Nintendo fan. I loved Mario. I loved Nintendo games. But like, I wouldn't play one today. Like, it's kind of like, and I own a Switch.
But like,
we all grew up on Nintendo.
Data seems to show. I mean, it's been like 30 years, and people are still like every one of these games.
Okay,
is
but
selling
Nintendo's
30
not
million copies. Like,
is Nintendo the growth story you think it could be?
No.
Okay.
That's a separate issue.
Okay. Owen says I'm with Kevin. Odyssey was so good. Okay, Owen and Kevin and Jeff, you guys can go have your own little thing. Chris says Mario, Pokemon, and Zelda are the biggest franchises ever. That's enough to stave off the hardcore PC nerds propagating the Steam Deck. Chris, the question for you is how long? How long?
I think that they create a whole new generation of nostalgia every time they release a game.
Maybe. I don't know. Again, the question I have for Chad is how long does that last? Chris says, Kevin with quote of the day. Owen says, I think in places like Japan where gaming on the go is very popular, I wonder if it will be one of the best markets for the deck. Thought, no question. I think any commuter culture, the Steam Deck's going to be massive, right? Anywhere where people have commutes, spend time on subways, trains. So Japan, no question. Although Japan will face the sort of the toughest resistance from Nintendo fans, right?
Mm-hmm. Not just commuter cultures, Paul, but also mobile cultures, like you were saying, right? Like mobile being the gateway drug. Steam just created an entire new category of users that didn't know they needed that product, because if they want a game on their phone, maybe they game on the Steam Deck instead, and then that exposes them to a library of content where they're going to want to go PC anyways, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of it's forcing that additional sale. So I think mobile cultures, not just commuter cultures, particularly by mobile, I mean like mobile phone gamers, like we had said.
And you guys remember we had this whole debate. Remember about, I think it was like Qualcomm who said they might do some like mobile console hardware or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like high-end mobile gaming. Like I think the Steam Deck sort of disintermediates that, right? Like I think it fills that need.
100%.
Gary says, I think you can plug in mouse and keyboard to the Steam Deck. Not sure that was just a quick Google search. That would be pretty awesome.
Paul's gonna lose
I
it.
would have a whole mobile setup in that game.
And like a little tiny screen.
How many people
With
are
an external monitor. Come on,
Oh,
Jimmy.
okay. I don't know.
I'm sorry. How many people are traveling around with a keyboard, a mouse, a monitor?
I do.
Yeah.
Multiple.
I've seen this in action. By the way.
Xbox also has that portable kit. Haven't you seen the briefcase with like the monitor built into the flap,
Yeah.
and you have like your Xbox? I was this close to getting one, and then I just went PC and got a laptop.
Chris says, is there a Steam Land anywhere or just a Nintendo Land? All right, Chris. Okay. We get it. I mean,
Makes a good point.
let me put this back on Chris, because I know the answer if I ask myself this. Have you spent more money on Nintendo or on Steam? Because I know by far I've spent more money on Steam. I mean, there's like 200 something games in my Steam library.
I'd also say there's a Star Wars land, there's a Harry Potter land, there's all these IP lands, and all of those games are available on Steam. So like, I'll raise you one.
Juan, he says, I honestly have never seen this heated debate. I mean, Juan, it's because they're right here.
So,
And because I get kicks under the table,
We're
which
the
you
little
don't see.
angel on the shoulder here.
here's a question for you
Telling
guys.
boys.
Valve's a private company, right?
Yeah.
If you had to buy one right now, which one would you buy, and which one do you think is worth more currently?
What are the choices?
Sorry,
Valve
Valve
and
and
Nintendo.
Nintendo. I thought that was obvious.
No, I mean, for me, that's a no-brainer.
I think it's also, I would also buy Valve.
Hold on.
Even though I think,
Can I just clarify before you answer, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Is the assumption that we would operate either one as we see fit, or they have to continue to operate as they always have?
You may answer the question as you interpret it.
Sorry, go ahead, Jimmy. I wanted to clarify, maybe thinking it would change your answer.
no question I would buy Valve. I think Nintendo is probably worth more, but I think Valve has greater potential long term. And honestly, I don't think it's worth that much more either. Like you said, Valve is private, but just look at what's on the Steam store. Like, it's not a competition. You're talking about like the smallest content library that they've done a great job monetizing, but absolutely zero innovation, zero esports or expanding the brand, and just really relying on nostalgia. Yes, doing a great job milking that cow. It's going to dry up. Steam will never dry up.
I agree. I could make a ton more money with Valve. If I said I could own either one and operate it as I see fit, with Valve, I have hardware as well, so I'm matched there. I would argue I have a VR presence, which could be the future. I have marquee titles that, among gamers, I think like a Counter-Strike or a Dota is as important as a Mario or a Zelda, and can be monetized, just as easily. I just think you've got way more there that appeals to a larger audience, and more potential for the future. I don't know.
I guess the rebuttal I would have is that Valve has not put out a hit game in 20 years, probably. So they do have some hits still.
Again, I said if I'm running it.
Fair. Okay, take me away if Paul runs the company. So I'll buy any company that Paul runs.
Yeah, same.
Take that aside. Valve has not put out a hit game in, since Counter-Strike. Nintendo puts out games that sell tens of millions of units every year. They have way better franchises historically, and they have a real competitive advantage, right? These franchises are long lasting. I think with Valve, Steam has a lot of competition, right? Whatever we feel about Epic, they have a massive competitor throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at beating them. They seem to be missing this whole Web3 trend, which I think in PC gaming, if you don't have a Web3 strategy and you're a PC gaming company, I kind of think you are missing the boat a little bit. And if nothing else, what Epic has done, even if it's not taking away customers, it is compressing the amount that these people can charge, right? Epic lowered the fees to 12%, and I think Valve had to lower from 30% to 20 or 25. So you're in a little bit of a commoditized business, and you're losing your competitive advantage and potentially missing the next wave here. Nintendo is a safer play. If Paul's running Valve, I'd probably buy Valve, but like, I don't know. It feels to me like Valve's best days were probably 10, 15 years ago.
I think all good points. I mean, it's hard to debate some of those points. Owen has a good point here, though, that I think is an interesting. He goes, the Switch is running on hardware older than me. It's a miracle No Man's Sky is being ported over. Also, just a weird game to port over to Switch. I feel like that game's best days are way behind it.
Such a waste of time,
Yeah.
Owen. I wasted so many hours with hope that they would fix that game, and it just never happened. Sorry, I'm bitter about it still.
Kevin says money is money. Companies will put the resources in for sales on the Switch. The cost can't be that much to port an already made game, right? I mean, the Switch, though, is such unique hardware that, like, I think it's, again, getting something running on Steam Deck for most developers, I think is going to be way, way easier than porting a game to the Switch, for example. Chris says, for a long time, any Star Wars fans here, same energy. Yeah, Chris, I'm not. Nostalgia is powerful, and some franchises, you're right, last a long time. But I would argue even Star Wars is not what it was maybe even 10 or 15 years ago.
I would say any true Star Wars fan kind of hates what they've done with it, and it's just for nostalgia that we're still fans.
Owen says, Paul, I dare you to use your Steam Deck as your personal laptop for a month, like LTT. Owen, let me a little bit of insight into how the Prophet operates with laptops. I don't use them as portable devices, okay? What I do is I keep a laptop in every room and on every desk. And so when I move from room to room, I just use a different laptop. So I would have to buy a lot of Steam Decks, but it is an interesting thought. I have one on pre-order. That's it. Wes says, Gary stole my comment, was thinking of adding a keyboard and mouse. Also, Wes, if it supports mouse and keyboard, that's like, I think that would be fantastic. I mean, that to me is
gonna lose it.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is people saying that, like, you're basically taking something portable and making it not port. At that point, what
you can
difference
buy
is it from bringing a laptop?
60% keyboards, like really portable keyboards.
I don't know. I guess I'm missing the point of being portable. Like, once you're bringing a laptop,
Paul's definition of
a
portable is
keyboard, a
loose.
mouse, a screen, it's like it's not portable anymore.
Paul's
You're literally
definition
just
of portable
bringing-
is like, it fits in the rolling suitcase I take with me everywhere.
exactly.
Owen says, sorry, this is slightly off topic, so feel free to skip. But do you think we'll get a 120 hertz Steam Deck for games like Rocket League? The refresh rate matters so much. Good question, Owen. I think so. Valve has indicated that they want to make this a very open platform, and so they allow you to see like what frame rate the games are running at. Right, all the data can be surfaced. For example, I think they will realize that gamers are going to look for that and going to ask for that. I just think it's a really small minority that needs high refresh rate on such a tiny screen. Like, I would be for it, but I think a lot of the Steam Deck buyers maybe won't care. Because I think a lot of the games you play on a Steam Deck are also not the ultra competitive, games that require high refresh rate. Owen says, you may have a laptop for every room, but you don't have a clean bomber jacket like the Juice. This is true. I mean,
my night.
I lose this. I would lose that contest every time, Owen. Kevin says, if it works with a keyboard, it could be like a Switch in which you can put it on the TV. That'd actually be cool if it ran well.
So,
there is a dock. I know it does.
I'm looking at the dock right now. I was just about
Yeah.
to share. I said, I see a dock connecting to external displays, wired networking, USB peripherals clearly means mouse and keyboard. So, your dreams coming true.
There is a dock. All right, guys. We could spend all day talking about this. I do want to just add one more wrinkle to this story before we move on. And it's the other article that I had about this. And that is, this is from PC Gamer. It says, Valve has no plans for a Steam Pass, but would help Microsoft put Game Pass on Steam. So Valve has nothing philosophical against making it happen. So the gist of this is very simple. It's all in the headline. Valve has no ambition to make a Netflix style service, right, for games where you pay one price and you get access to it. But they are not against partnering with Microsoft to bring Xbox Game Pass to the Steam Deck.
So you're telling me that if I get this device, not only do I have access to the largest library of video games anywhere in the world, but for a small monthly fee, I can also get access to exclusive paid content from Microsoft's library? It's the nail in the coffin. Sony's done. Nintendo's done. Epic is done. Like, are you kidding me? They won.
I love being in
Yeah,
the room.
Jeff.
Yeah, I love being in the room with hardcore gamers as they like salivate over this thing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm still gonna be playing Zelda.
I felt this way over New World, so let's just remember that. But
Well, hold on. Like, does anyone think the bigger story here? Because Xbox Game Pass running on Steam Deck, I think that's fantastic. It's a huge bonus for Valve. But does anyone think the bigger story is why doesn't Valve do a Game Pass style product?
I think they will when it makes sense, though. I mean, if you remember Netflix at first, every single production company put their stuff on Netflix. And then when that stopped making sense and production companies and entertainment companies realized that they could monetize their own content, they started doing that. So there's no reason to not invite Game Pass on and get used to that subscription style model. And perhaps in 5 or 10 years, if the Steam Deck is a smash hit, Valve makes its own service.
it's a really solid point. I just think Valve doesn't want the smoke right now. You know, they don't want to go toe-to-toe with Microsoft.
You like that? You think that was funny, Jeff?
Jeff like that, yeah.
I did like that. I mean, I just sometimes don't think I don't think that Gabe Newell and Valve care about making money sometimes. So
What does he care about, you think? I think that's an interesting, like, it's a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I think it's an interesting comment. So I'm curious, what do you think he cares about?
I do not know what he cares about, but he seems to me like a Tim Sweeney sort of like crusader where he's just trying to build a company, create cool game, They're
both billionaires.
Like, I just don't.
They both don't need more money.
Paul, of course,
Agreed.
knows their network.
It just doesn't seem to me like they've done a lot of things that, for example, making Half-Life Alyx exclusive to VR was something that probably cost them $1 billion. And he had an axe to grind. Maybe it was, hey, let's try to build VR and we'll be the Steam of VR. But that decision cost him $1 billion probably.
I mean, I think you could, you could make that argument, but you could also make the argument that maybe he believed that was, because everyone did say that was going to be the VR killer app, and he sells $1 billion of headsets, right? Like, there is that argument. But I see your point. I mean, it could just be they're so rich they only care about legacy now and changing the gaming world, and right, like you could make that argument. I think it's an interesting one. All right, guys, let's move on. Let's talk about. I mean, we mentioned Netflix, so let's talk about Netflix, because Netflix back throwing their. Do you not want to talk about this story?
I absolutely do. I'm just gonna juice on it.
You're gonna juice on it.
He's ready.
See, this is better when you see what's coming.
I know. I should just come every time to the studio.
Then it would really look like Monday Night Football with the two of us. Like,
Poor Jimmy and I.
I mean, Lindsay will take the train up from DC every week also. Obviously,
every week.
Jimmy can fly here, expense it to your company.
Easy.
Send the jet. No. I'm not expensing.
The headline here from The Hollywood Reporter: Netflix buys Stranger Things Puzzle Tales game studio Next Games for $72 million. The Finnish mobile gaming company joins Night School Studio in the streaming giant's game developer portfolio. Another acquisition from Netflix, right? I think we all said this was going to feel like a little bit of a slow burn for them, slow entry, but $72 million acquisition. I mean, it's not 70 billion, but it's something. How are we all feeling about Netflix now in the gaming space, now that they've made 2 acquisitions? They've bought the company that makes a game tied to an IP, which is one of their biggest, if not the biggest. Are you more? You said you wanted to juice on this, Jeff. So you're less bullish now?
No. I'm not less bullish. Let me be frank. we live in a world where we have to give hot takes, right? Like the correct take here probably is this is a pretty smart incremental move by Netflix to make a little bit of a step into gaming, and it's a decent size acquisition. It'll give them some content, some revenue, some developers. That's not the take I want to give because that's not that exciting. Like you could read, Business Insider to get that take.
That's my take, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly.
I
I
gave
just
that
think-
one to you. I'm
I
so
don't know,
nice.
this is like, it's not that exciting to me. Like a 70 million acquisition where they're going to make mobile games on IP that they already have just doesn't really get me that excited. It's not a big splash acquisition like them going and buying Take-Two where it's like, oh my God, like they are going to really be a gaming publisher and developer. And it's not a, something innovative where it's, hey, we're going to create a new IP and it's going to be connected to the Netflix show and you're going to be on your phone and based on what you click, the show is going to change and you're going to interact and it's going to be augmented reality. Like, I don't know if they could execute on that, but that would be cool. Like we'd be like, wow, is this going to work? Is it going to be a disaster? Blah, blah, blah. This is like you bought some company doing $26 million of revenue and like, they're going to make a mobile game based on Stranger Things, or they already have.
They already have. Just
I don't
to
know.
show
Like,
how boring
cool.
it
Like,
is.
that's not that exciting to me.
Yeah, just to show how like, I guess, to your point, how boring this is. I thought that they already owned the mobile company that made the Stranger Things game. So I was like, oh, guess they didn't.
Guess they didn't. But like, isn't this perfectly in line with it? Like, they have not given any indication of wanting to go bold with their gaming strategy at all, right? Every indication has been it's another thing to include in the list of bullets with what you get with your Netflix subscription so that when they continue to add $1 every couple of years, that it's justified because they're giving you more, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that perfectly in line with this strategy? We can all agree it's boring.
Yes,
The
and
argument
we
here,
all
It's
agree.
consistent,
the
right?
Perfect, it's milk toast. Like it's milk toast. Like it's just not. It's
no,
nothing.
it's not.
It's
No, that's
nothing.
not.
It's not
I disagree
exciting.
with that. I disagree with that.
Jimmy,
the
Jimmy,
criticism,
this is the most I've seen Jimmy disagree
I know,
because he's
so
not
ready.
here.
And
because
also-
I have
also,
half
Jimmy,
of the
before you start
market
talking,
share
you're wrong.
on the screen
You're
right now. I
wrong.
need to make up for it. I just disagree. You guys, Jeff, you're criticizing Netflix for not taking half-court shots when this is a slam dunk. Like you want this wow factor, this like massive thing. This is a slam dunk. This is them doubling down on what they had just recently done. This is a massive step continuing in that direction. It's one of their most famous properties. And they're not going to compete with Steam. They're not going to compete with Epic, but they are going to compete with other storytelling games. They're going to compete with the Apple Arcade, and this is a massive, massive double down. I love Owen's comment. I know we're a few behind, but I want to put it on the screen just because it's
Owen,
irrelevant.
you're wrong.
Tom says, I agree.
Tom is
Small
right.
acquisition for Netflix. Owen says, Jimmy just juiced the juice.
Jimmy is wrong.
Take
Jimmy
it,
is
Jeff.
Wrong, Owen wrong.
Jimmy bringing the heat.
And I'll
I
tell
know,
you
I
why
love
you're
this
all
side
wrong.
of Jimmy.
Because mobile games are free. So any strategy that is predicated on we are going to put out a mobile game and based on that you will charge more for a Netflix subscription is the wrong strategy. Mobile games are free. They have been free for a decade and they will continue to be free.
I see. So
Forever.
you're saying the end Netflix user is getting no value that they already didn't have before.
Yes.
Yeah, but do they know that? That's the bigger thing. If your thing goes
I mean,
up by $1, they
the
say now
game-
you have games. What do they care? They're not
Yeah.
paying for the game.
The
And
game
they will
is-
say, what games do I have? Are they better than what I can get in the App Store for free? And right now the answer is definitely no.
You think
And it
people are
probably
gonna
will
care that much
continue to
now?
be no for a long time.
The games
Oh.
capture their attention, and Fortnite is free. And these games, like Netflix's games, can add that same in-game purchasable content for another revenue stream if they wanted. But it's really just about capturing. It's not about giving them new value. It's about keeping their attention, just staying in front of them. That's the hardest part, right? Making sure that they don't switch to go anywhere else.
You want a hot take, guys? You know what Netflix should buy?
What?
Not the company any of you are thinking.
Okay. I wasn't
F1.
thinking of a company, so right on track.
Discord.
That would be so cool.
Because you want to talk about retention of subscribers. I think Jeff sort of convinced me a little bit that another free game maybe is not the greatest retention mechanism ever. But what might be a great retention mechanism is, hey, if you pay for a Netflix subscription and you're on Discord, you can watch the shows with your friends. You could, right? Like, and the friends who don't have subscriptions maybe can't watch. Or
Netflix, if you're listening, I would like this.
I think I could buy in, although I could probably name 5 other companies that would be a better fit for Discord to be acquired by. I think. I don't know if you disagree.
I mean, there's
hot
a
take.
lot of potential buyers for Discord
Yes,
because
it's a great asset.
it's a great asset. But yeah, in the context of
But
Netflix,
I do love I think what you're saying makes a ton of sense. Discord is a great asset. I just think it would be a better fit with other companies.
SEO says, yo.
Wait, can you put up the thing about the Manning cast? Because that made me happy too.
Oh, where? Did I miss it?
Chat is
Further up.
lit
Oh,
right
right
now.
there.
We are
Owen says,
behind-
for all the NFL guys out there, this is the Manning cast of esports. It's
I
glorious.
love the Manning cast. So thank you,
Um,
Owen.
no high five.
Thank
I-
you.
Sorry.
Am I the only one who doesn't get the reference?
You don't need
Yes,
to
you're
follow
you're the
Spotify.
only one.
It's a really high
is it a
compliment.
meat
So
sport
there's-
thing? Is
Yeah,
it
There's
a-
these
a-
things
sport
called
thing.
the Mannings in
They're
the
brothers.
meat sport
You might be
called the
familiar
NFL.
with them.
I am. I haven't
Yeah,
been
but
lucky enough to
4
have dinner
Super
I
with
was
them,
just
but
gonna
I.
say, you haven't had steak with Eli lately?
Jason says it seems like they're experimenting with various game genres with this acquisition, but reinforcing their position on having gaming IP that reinforces their original content IP. It's a great, I think, theory or thesis as to their strategy, but like the end goal still has to be, I would think, Jason, retention. No, like keeping subscribers longer, or at least being able to charge them more for the same subscription. Because why else? Like, what would be the benefit to reinforcing the original content IP? Like, I totally agree. This is a super eloquent way, I think, of talking about their thesis.
I think Jason's absolutely right. It's just with a mobile game. I just don't think you get that with a free mobile game.
Yeah. Marie says, I jumped out of my seat because of how vehemently Jimmy disagreed.
That was awesome. I would like more of that energy, Jimmy.
Polar Knight says, sweet mother of God, it is the perfect evolution of beards, the lady not included.
Here, I can duck.
I don't get it, but I love it.
Like you guys.
I mean, who's in the middle and
All
who's
is the most evolved. Jimmy's in the middle.
Oh, it took me a while to think through that. Like, I'm ashamed on how slow I got that.
I like that, Polar Knights. Tom says, interesting about the mobile aspect. Maybe Netflix is paying more attention on their mobile footprint.
I mean, that's what I thought this whole time.
I wonder, I actually don't know. Do we have the data in terms of what percentage of Netflix subscribers spend most of their time in the mobile app versus like on a TV? I don't actually know.
Seems
That
like
would
a
be
good question
interesting.
for you guys.
There you go. You know what I think Netflix should do, and you guys will like this. You guys on the panel here, Netflix should buy sports rights, and namely F1. Right? They already have the show. That's a retention thing. If there are rabid F1 fans that watch that F1 show, if you put F1 exclusively on Netflix, you're going to continue to subscribe. And if they did that with the NFL, I would continue to subscribe. That's what they should be doing. The strategy with gaming, it needs to be ARPU generating. And right now what they're doing, the retention play is not going to work with gaming because they're giving away something that is already free.
Yeah, for the most part. Tom says, oh yeah, sorry, I read this one. Polar Knight says, as a woman, I love football. All those big men playing with balls all day. I get you guys.
Right there with you.
Tom says, yes, retention is their main goal, as there aren't many people left to sign up. Tom, that's sort of the dirty secret of Netflix's business, is that subscriber growth is slowing, if not plateauing.
I agree. I was going to say when you have that situation, then ARPU increase should be their main goal.
Yeah,
plus
but
retention. It's both, obviously.
And when I say retention, I also mean retaining customers when you raise the price.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
Kevin says the more integrated Netflix can be into your life, the longer it will survive. Before the pandemic, mobile Netflix and big enough phones were really popular, could be more relevant in 2024 or 2026. I mean, is Netflix? I mean, can Netflix possibly get any more integrated in our lives?
Well, when I was going into an office and going into the gym, I was watching it on my phone. I guess now I just watch it way more on my TV. So maybe the mobile.
But I feel like
changed.
they're everywhere, right? They're on every platform, browser, mobile, TV, like you name it. Like, is there anywhere you can't, where Netflix doesn't have penetration?
I'll follow Reed Hastings anywhere. It's true.
All right, guys, let's unless there's other thoughts on this, guys, or any questions from chat, I say we move on. Because we do have actually before we have kind of a fun story. They just saw the headline. Before we do that, I just want to say a quick word. This live stream, in spite of its slightly janky nature this week, and I'm sorry for that, and lateness this week, it's their fault. In spite of that, this live stream is very, very generously supported by YouGov. YouGov produces the absolutely best data on gamers, games, esports fans all around the world. If you are looking for very actionable data, if you're looking to market to the gaming audience, to talk to the gaming audience, to reach that gaming audience, which is the most lucrative on the planet, you need to be talking to YouGov first. They are the absolute best partner to help you navigate those waters. So go check out yougov.com/gaming-esports. I will put this in the chat, yougov.com/gaming-esports. Go check it out. Go show them some love. If you need to be connected to YouGov directly, you can reach out to any of us, myself, Jimmy, Lindsay, Jeff, any of us can help make an introduction to the fine people at YouGov. But go check out those free reports they have on the website, yougov.com/gaming-esports. All right, guys, I have to cover this story. I have to put this story. I absolutely have to. And the headline here is Gaming Award Show host gets on stage, says F Bobby Kotick. And so this is from the DICE Awards. It's the equivalent, I guess, of the Oscars for the gaming industry. And the host, which was surprising, is the person who said this. And, he opened the night with a monologue and talked about turmoil, uncertainty in the world. And then he called out Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick. And after joking about Cyberpunk 2077, Metroid Dread, and NFTs, he said, F Bobby Kotick, to claps and cheers from the audience. Look, there's not much discussion here, right? There's not much of a business discussion. However, I do think I just want to make sure, at least for myself, I'm clear with people. I'm not commenting on any of the harassment or things that took place at Activision Blizzard. I don't know. I don't know enough about the situation to comment. What I do know is we've been very critical of Bobby Kotick on the show about the business. At least I have.
Yep.
I think this is totally inappropriate to be doing at an award show.
Yep.
And I don't think that's the time or place to be having any conversation, business or otherwise, especially not with that, that kind of language. I don't know. You guys have different feelings.
No, you're right on. It's because this is more of a personal attack, right? This isn't criticizing the business like what we do, which I think is fair game, because this kind of reminds me of Kanye West, right, on the Hurricane Katrina fundraiser, saying George Bush didn't care about black people. If you guys remember that whole controversy. I think booing Bobby Kotick and others is kind of comparable to booing the commissioner during draft night, right, for your favorite sport, right? Jeff and other meathead sport guys in here know that, right? It's always fun to boo the commissioner, but again, that's in relation to the business, in relation to their responsibilities and their duties. This there's really, you said it great, Paul. There's no place for this, so I'm in alignment.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have too much to add, but I actually watched the clip, and it just seemed like the guy didn't read the room very well. Like, he said it, and nobody really reacted. There was a way that he could have delivered a message that probably should have been said about, the elephant in the room and this controversy and kind of what's happened there and sort of the issues. The way he did it just wasn't. It was like he was trying to get clout by doing that, and I thought it fell flat in its face, to be honest.
Well, that's awkward. I think that there's a trend for this. If any of you have ever seen Ricky Gervais host the Golden Globes, however, this is not Ricky Gervais and it's not the Golden Globes. Yeah. So if you're gonna make a joke or a point like that, I think it is important to read the room. That said, I don't think this is a a huge deal. It's just not a good look. I don't know.
And I think we need to be able to be critical within the industry if we want to be better, but without making it personal. Like I think if you make it personal, it doesn't. It loses all importance. Or look, I'm even surprised this made a headline because I don't know anyone who watches these award shows anyways. But
maybe that was good. You know, if bad press is all press is good press. I suppose there was something accomplished.
Would not have even known the Dice Awards had happened, right? Owen says, "Was this planned or allowed?" Good question, Owen. I don't actually know. Marie says, "Poor form for anyone representing a company or institution." Yeah, I think. Yeah. I don't think anyone was watching the Dice Awards to begin with, and I suspect even fewer will now. Kevin says, "I'm always here for drama." I mean, they definitely accomplished that. Kevin says it's bad business, but like it won't be that big of a deal. This is true. Yep. Winston says, Winston, I don't know if that's good morning. I'm not sure what time zone you're in, but hello, welcome.
Hey, Winston.
All right, guys, let's move on. Let's talk about another CEO. A big gaming industry CEO who was in the news. And this time it was EA CEO. And the headline here is EA CEO tells staff it's been impeded by the FIFA brand. It's 4 letters on a box is the quote. CEO Andrew Wilson claimed in an internal meeting that FIFA is holding back the football series. So Andrew Wilson gave his employees a frank appraisal of why he believes the company could be better off ending its 30-year relationship with FIFA. I want to get to the quote here. He says, I'm going to be more open than I've been with the outside world, Wilson said when asked why EA was considering breaking up with FIFA. We've had a great relationship with FIFA over the past 30-odd years. We've created billions in value. It's just huge. We've created one of the biggest entertainment properties on the planet. I would argue, and this may be a little biased, that the FIFA brand has more meaning as a video game than it does as a governing body of soccer. We don't take that for granted, and we try not to be arrogant. We've worked really hard to try and make FIFA understand what we need for the future. Basically, what we get from FIFA in a non-World Cup year is the 4 letters on the front of the box in a world where most people don't even see the box anymore because they buy the game digitally. This is pretty fire from...
yeah, it is.
Yeah, Will with the hot take.
This is amazing. The only thing that would have made this better is if you read it in Andrew Wilson's smooth Australian. He's so right.
Accent, Paul.
It's so correct. Like they're paying $150 million a year, and he's so right. People think when people say FIFA, they think of the video game, not the corrupt soccer governing body.
I had no idea. I just learned that.
You just realized it's a governing body.
No idea. Sorry, Jeff, you're on a roll though. Sorry, keep going.
That was it. I mean, it's when you think about those cost savings. I mean, it's massive. They could call this here, EA Sports Soccer, EA Football. Like,
okay, but why did they have the partnership? What do you think they got from it? Like, what broke the camel's back here in this relationship in your mind?
I think it was just money. I mean, there probably are other things involved there, but $150 million a year is a lot of money. Like, let's do the counterfactual. If they name this game EA Sports Soccer tomorrow, how many people say, oh, that game that I bought every year that I used to love, that's the exact same game next year? I'm not going to buy that because it's not called FIFA. It's now called EA Sports Soccer. Like,
how many customers do they lose?
Yeah. Zero.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah. Zero.
I don't know. Okay,
as long as the developers are the
zero.
same.
I don't fully agree with that because I think what that does, Jeff, is really undercut the value of branding. That's not to say that they can't rebrand and make it really awesome, but I don't think that coming out with
Lindsay,
EA Sports
I love you,
Soccer
but I think you are. I feel
as
strongly.
Hey.
All right, fine.
Don't
just smack him. He's in the room.
I know.
You are wrong.
It's not that I think that they have to be called FIFA. It's that I think that they need to come out with a strong brand in place of that because, as he said, people recognize the name FIFA as the soccer game more than they recognize the governing organization. It's not to say that they can't rebrand it to something stronger. It just has to be, and I think it will be, it has to be well done. It has to have the same recognition and the same excitement as the word FIFA did.
Could they not do like they do with fake Rolexes? You know, that it's Rolex with an A. Like, could they not spell it FIFA, like FEEFA, or so people can still go around saying we're playing FIFA?
Or they can call it not FIFA, right? Just add 3 more letters on the box. What I love about this is, well, I wish this wasn't, because it seemed like a leak, right? Like a link of an internal discussion. This should have been the press release itself. And then for that reason, we're launching not FIFA, right? Or FIFO or whatever. Like that's the only thing that would have made this better. It's incredibly expensive to make a sports game, I think, because of the image and likeness rights that they need to acquire from those governing bodies. I don't know what the relationship with EA and FIFA was in terms of the profit share and what they got. So I think that maybe in the early days, 30 years ago, that was probably something that reflected that, or that considered the expense of getting those players' names and likenesses, and then the partnership just grew from there. But they're going to have a massive cost, I think, to continue to make a game with those players' images and names on their jerseys. But again, they're big enough where they can afford it now. Jeff, I saw you wanted to jump in.
Well, I'll just share a little context. So the FIFA license is one of, I think that the FIFA game that we know has over 200 licenses that they license from. So like they will not be losing any of the teams they license from, like the Premier League. I don't know soccer that well. So all the other leagues, all the other teams. So they will have everything about the game will be the same. I think every 4 years they usually have a World Cup edition. So that might be one of the things where they'll have to like wiggle with that, because that kind of is FIFA's brand. So there may not be like a World Cup kind of thing, which I could see a world where that hurts them a little bit. But it's not like all of a sudden you're going to open this game and it's going to be like, well, where is Chelsea? Where is Manchester United? Like it's like Johnny's football team or something like that. That's not what this license is.
I mean, one of the things the article does say, I don't know if this changes anyone's minds about this, is because Owen said EA is holding back FIFA. I mean, the article here specifically says that FIFA is stopping them from doing what they want with the game, like not allowing them to add in certain game modes, like 11 versus 11 and different other types of gameplay, other features. Like what EA is saying is because FIFA is stopping them from introducing all of these features, they're held back in the development of the game. So, I mean, that could be maybe even more powerful than the money, right? If they know players want game modes and they can't implement them because FIFA's holding them hostage for more money, I could see how they would maybe want to get out of that relationship. The question I have for you guys is, because Jeff, you brought up a good point, how many people would not buy the game if this was called EA Soccer, right? If I extend that to other sports, does your thought hold true? Like, meaning if instead of Madden, right, or like, which is their football game, like what if it was just EA Football?
So I 100% yes. If it was exactly the same, where it was, if it was called EA Football and they still had they still have to pay for the NFL license and have the teams, then yeah, of course. And I mean, John Madden passed away this year, so it would be really, I don't think it would be a great thing for their
not the time
to get rid of it this year. But absolutely, if they're paying Madden $30 million a year, believe me, if the next year was called EA Football, of course everyone's going to buy it. There's only
NBA 2K wasn't
game.
NBA 2K, it was
basketball
2K basketball.
Yeah, I think in this case it's a little different because they're probably with that NBA license, they're getting the names and likenesses. So like, I don't know that you could sever those two ties. Soccer is different because it's like FIFA's this weird governing body, but it actually doesn't have the rights to anything besides the name FIFA. Yeah, so I think it's a bit unique.
Kevin says, could it be like NCAA football where every player is just a number, but the rest is the same? I don't know if people would like that, and it would make less money, right?
That would hurt it a little bit. I think that would hurt it a little bit.
For sure.
They make a lot of money on people wanting to acquire. I don't play a lot of FIFA, but like wanting to acquire players, right?
Yeah.
With certain characteristics in game also. All right, guys, let's talk about. Actually, this is a good one in the context of the first conversation we had, because I just think the timing is so strange.
I just have the juice on all these. I'm on a roll. This is
you can't see. This is the worst part. Like this one. You ready to juice on this? All right. Let's talk about mobile gaming again. Except this one, different take here, different angle. The headline from TechCrunch: Celebs back Backbone's mobile gaming controller with $40 million round. So this is like, I think this was pushed by Nadeshot. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy. I think he was one of the early sort of advocates of this. There were investors in this round like Ashton Kutcher, The Weeknd, Kevin Hart, Post Malone, Diddy, Amy Schumer, Marshmello, even the Discord co-founders in this round, Rec Room co-founder, Sonos CEO.
Wow.
So they've got a lot of celebrities that have put together this $40 million round for what is essentially just a controller that you attach to your mobile phone. Someone help me out, because mobile gaming, is not my area of expertise, I would say. I'm not a big mobile gamer. This does not feel like a $40 million worthy investment to me, especially when the same week we've got the Steam Deck being released. But does anyone have a good counter argument there?
Well, sorry, Jeff wants to juice on it.
You go first.
Take
you guys
it.
go first. You kind of, Paul sort of read my mind, but I don't need to dominate the conversation. You guys can go first.
Not just Miss Nadeshot, Paul, but also Mr. Beast. And I don't know what company that celebrities get endorsed and get behind won't be successful, right? When you have that kind of star power. Sarcasm aside, which obviously didn't land well right there. So I've used a couple of these. We played with the Razer one in Vegas. Yeah, you can have the Steam Deck. This detaches from your phone and collapses easily into your pocket. For existing mobile gamers, it's a nice solution. These are also super cheap. This is like $40, maybe $50. I think the Razer one was around 100, right? But I've seen a lot of the Android ones for in that $40 range. So I think for what they can make this for, the margins are great. It's an accessory like a phone case, right? It's an accessory like a pair of wireless headbuds.
Pop socket.
Well,
Yeah,
by
like
the
a
way, you
pop
have to
top.
pay for a subscription also for much of the functionality.
That
Of
changes
course,
a
why
lot.
not? I mean,
That changes a lot.
Just make it worse.
And I think the other thing that was interesting here, my takeaway from this whole article is the founder used to intern at YouTube, and if you want to know why YouTube has so many problems in YouTube gaming, especially, he says the founder used to come home every day from work and play Fortnite on his phone. I mean, if that's not lost and confused, I mean, I don't know what is.
All from his castle of computers is just hurt by this.
But no, like, what's the use case here? In a world where you have Razer devices with no subscription, you have 10 million clones and, cheapo kind of products on Amazon and Alibaba that do exactly the same thing, basically. Other than the celebrity like push, what's the play here?
So I 100% agree. I mean, it's funny. Maybe I'm spending too much time with you, Paul, but when I saw this article, I actually like threw up in my mouth a little bit. All I could think was that one red flag immediately when the only people you're talking about when you raise around is celebrities, because as you've taught me, that means you didn't get any real sophisticated investors to invest. And then all I could think of, this is literally a gaming peripheral and not even a good one, where the use case really isn't even there. You're raising $40 million for a piece of gaming hardware. Like, it sort of fundamentally misunderstands how gamers use mobile phones, not to mention the competition with Switch coming from Steam Deck. There's no market here for this. It's hardware. It's a terrible business model. Then you have to subscribe to it. Why would I want to buy a piece of gaming hardware that I need a subscription to use?
That's a controller, no less.
No.
But like, what does Corsair trade at? Do you know off the top of your head in terms of a multiple of revenue?
Probably like less than one time, probably maybe two times.
Revenue?
Probably.
I mean, do the back of the envelope math here, right? $40 million round. You got to think values the business at least, my guess, you're talking at least 200 million, probably more, right? Maybe a $300 million valuation. You got to think this is venture type investment, high risk. You need to see a 10x kind of potential return, right? So you're talking about you need to exit around 3 billion, right? If these companies trade at 1 or 2 times revenue, hardware companies, which is what this is, like, how do you sell 2 or 3 billion of this?
For context, I think Turtle Beach, which is one of the bigger peripheral companies of all time, at their peak, at like the height of the Fortnite craze, I'm not even sure they were $1 billion company. So you're pricing in that this company is going to be 3 times that size, and it's a way worse product. And I don't mean to be hard, but it's like the articles that he was an intern at Google like 2 years ago. Like, We're giving $40 million rounds to people who were interns
I mean,
18 months ago. Like,
yeah.
I don't. It's
I don't
good
have
for
a-
him.
I don't
Like,
have a
I hope he
problem.
proves us wrong.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. It's crazy to me.
I don't have
It
a
is
problem
kinda
with him
crazy.
being an intern at Google and, going out and starting a company raising rounds. But I have an issue with is that everything now is considered like tech and gaming. Like, to me, this should be more akin to a toy. Like, this is a toy. I don't know why it just feels like everything gets slapped into like this is the next great thing in tech. And it's like this isn't. This is a toy. It's a great toy. I don't think that there's anything wrong with developing toys like this. I think Razer already did it and it's awesome. I don't know why you would put a subscription model on this toy. I don't know why you would go for more than we all had like the Dance Dance Revolution pads in our living rooms when we were growing up.
Nice.
Like, this is
Great
the same
pull.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is totally.
And it's like, why are we slapping the tech and gaming label on all of this stuff and raising at tech company valuations and getting all these people on board when fundamentally it's a toy?
The subscription is what kills it for me because to your point, it's the DDR pad, it's the mindless purchase of $40 or $50 or whatever, it's
The
the
birthday
add-on.
purchase.
It's the birthday purchase. It's the
Just
mom that
fine.
doesn't know
Just
and just thinks
fine.
her kid's gonna like it purchase.
This is the exact thing that people invest in when they're a celebrity, they have a bunch of money, and they hear the pitch, oh, mobile gaming is really taking off. And guess what? It used to just be casual games, but now people are playing Call of Duty Mobile and Apex Mobile. And guess what? People love controllers. Wouldn't you love to play that game with a controller? Give me $40 million and we've got a TAM of 400 billion because there's a billion mobile gamers. And it sounds good, but it will fail.
Okay, nobody steal Jeff's pitch idea. He's presenting it next week.
Owen says, or sorry, I didn't catch Kevin. EA presents MFL 2023 Meta Football League. Yeah, I think that when they decide to move on from the Madden name potentially. Owen says, in what world does this outsell the Kishi? How is it different? Razer already has the brand recognition. I mean, unless they use the celebrities to push it a ton, which if I go back to the list of celebrities.
It's kind of
Maybe-
a random assortment.
It is
They
kind
also
of
had
like,
a really
is anyone going to care if The Weeknd is like playing on his backbone?
No. That's why I like
Such a
Marie's
weird way of
comment
saying it.
a little bit below here too. But like Razer would definitely outperform this. They did have a great marketing campaign on Instagram. I had so many friends asking me about this product and if they should get it for their iPhones. And I really just pointed them to Razer. I mean, and Razer's not the only other one that's doing this. It's a really saturated market. There are brands you've never heard of where you can get this on Alibaba, like you said, for like $10.
This is what I'm saying though, Jimmy. Like the amount of like cheapo knockoffs, like they're everywhere, right? It's and in some ways I find these controllers are almost like consumables, right? Like eventually the buttons wear down or you lose it, or because you're traveling with it, it breaks, or like I just don't see them as high-end devices ever. Owen says it looks very thin as well. This can't be terribly comfortable. I mean, this feels like a lot of sizzle and very little steak, Owen. So I don't know if they did much testing in terms of that. Marie says, I mean, do these celebs even have a track record of being gamers? I don't think any of them. Post Malone, I know, did a gaming PC build with Jay's 2 cents, but I don't know if he's a gamer. Did he? Amy Schumer? I don't think so. Marshmallow does play games.
Henry Cavill.
Ashton Kutcher is definitely a well-respected VC. I don't know how much he's involved in gaming.
He is a VC. I don't know how well respected. I mean, he's not Sequoia, but
No, of course not. But in terms of celebrities, I think he's
Yeah.
up there.
Owen says, yeah, comfortable. Jonathan says, oh, baby, first time catching the live show. I mean, Jonathan, you came in on quite a day. This
It only
as
goes
rough as it
downhill
gets.
from here.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
I'm kidding.
All right, guys, let's move on. I have only a couple stories. This one was just so different and so out there. I feel like we had to touch on it. And the headline here is Esports Technologies files quantum computing patent, increases calculation speed for odds modeling in multiplayer online battle arena games, so MOBAs. So Esports Technologies, eBet, they have esports wagering products and tech, and I think a website where you can go bet on esports. But they filed this patent that claims to be related to modeling for MOBA games, and it uses quantum computing to predict team compositions in MOBA games like League of Legends or Dota. I've never seen quantum computing. I think this is probably the first time I've seen a headline putting quantum computing and gaming in the same sentence, actually. And I think it's interesting because I would assume this is going to be for odds making, to try and create models that are better predictive. I mean, I'm curious what you guys make of this, right? We talk so much about on Meta Business about blockchain and gaming intersecting. It's the first time I've seen quantum computing and gaming intersecting. Do you guys have thoughts? You like this?
I want to hear what Jeff's take on this is as a betting guy. This
I
headline is
am
like
a
word salad
betting
to
man.
me.
I mean, I know nothing about the patent, so it could be incredibly valuable. To me, quantum computing, I thought we left that term behind and started calling it machine learning or big data.
No, different.
Are they different?
Totally different. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'm wrong on that. I don't know the difference. I'm clearly not smart enough to know what quantum computing is. And if it helps them make better lines, let's put it this way, it's very valuable. So
I will tell you, one of the things that quantum computing is really massively cutting edge, right? There are some quantum computers out in the wild. Google has some of the most sort of cutting edge companies in the space are actually Canadian companies, but we're still talking about computers that take up the size of a room that need to be cooled to almost, 0 Kelvin, like, absolute zero. Like, we're talking about technology that's really at the bleeding edge. Is this maybe my only sort of criticism of this is like, you're taking a relatively small problem, which is like better odds for like esports betting, which seems like kind of a mundane problem, and applying like the biggest possible technological hammer ever conceived, right? Like, we're talking about computers that could potentially solve, cryptographic problems and essentially render cryptography completely useless, right? Because it can break cryptographic, encryption and things like that. I'm just curious, have we gone too far with esports betting already?
Not far enough.
Not far enough. I mean,
I do not believe that is what they're referring to when they say quantum computing. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, someone from
That is what they're referring
esports
to.
technology, please reach out to me. I do not believe that they have a computer that is sitting in some sort of sub-zero Kelvin room that is doing big, I think this is someone who wrote this press release using this as a synonym for big data, AI, machine learning, any other buzzword to be like, hey, we created a cool algorithm to do something smart. But again, I do not know that. And anytime there's money involved, people are going to come up with smart solutions. So while it is crazy to do what you just said, if you can make money on it, betting, there's a lot of money in betting. So it can be very lucrative.
Jimmy, any thoughts on this before I get to our last story here?
Not a lot for me, other than it's kind of interesting to be one of the first more tech-focused plays that we've seen recently. We analyze so often innovation in terms of just acquisitions, business decisions. I want to move because I know we're getting towards the end here, but it's fun to see like a true tech play, a true IP play, something that they're protecting, and you'll have to see it. So I don't have a problem with it, whether or not it's going to be a big thing or not. They're protecting they're legally protecting, I think, something that they believe in strongly, and the lawyer in me is always in favor of that.
Marie says, I still don't know what quantum computing is. I mean, Marie, this is probably a good explanation for another podcast, but like at its core, it leverages the principles of quantum computing to process and store information. So the spin and position of atoms and how those are affected by observation and by other things, and how they interact with each other to do really complex computations very quickly.
I cleared up basically nothing.
Basically nothing. I'm sorry.
The physics guy in the room, he understands it.
All right, let's get to this last. Enough making fun. Let's get to this last story. This seems to be the mobile episode again. I love when we sort of have a theme. And this last story is Activision's mobile gaming unit to see leadership changes ahead of Microsoft deal. So on Wednesday, this would have been a week ago now. Two of its Activision Blizzard's sort of mobile gaming unit, King, said on Wednesday that 2 of its senior executives, including co-founder, would leave the company before the deal with Microsoft closes. Obviously, Microsoft's buying Activision Blizzard for almost $70 billion. Sebastian Knudsen, one of the founders of King, is stepping down from his role as chief creative officer, and the president, who worked for 6 years at King and 12 years at Activision, is also stepping down. And so Microsoft, is this a question of Microsoft shaking things up? Or is it that you have longtime people who now they're finally cashing out and want to go do other things with their life? Like, what is the phenomenon we're seeing here in your minds, guys? And does this get anyone worried about are we more worried about the price Microsoft paid now when you lose talent like this? Like, what's the analysis here?
I mean, I think it's definitely more worrying in the sense that Activision has now delayed 2 games from Blizzard and skipping a Call of Duty year.
That's true.
You only have to wonder what Activision stock would be like on a standalone basis. It probably wouldn't be great. Sure, we'd be talking about it a lot. But yeah, I think in this case, it's exactly what you said in terms of the latter. This is, a guy who founded King 12 years ago, came over as an executive at Activision. I mean, he's probably made several $100 million. Like, he's probably retiring. I don't think there's anything more to read into it. And, the other guy, who knows? Maybe he's retiring as well, or maybe there's a ton of jobs out there in mobile right now. This whole Web3 craze, I know a lot of mobile executives, mobile gaming developers are jumping over, so maybe he's going to do that. Obviously, that's completely speculation, but I think you see a lot of brain drain when you have an acquisition like this. People start to look and they say, well, I now know my upside is capped in terms of my stock at Activision, and it's going to be a year before this deal closes. Do I want to wait for the deal to close, play politics, see what role I get at the new company, how I fit into the new org chart, or do I, listen to the offers that I'm getting? When you're the founder of King, I'm sure you have a lot of other job opportunities, maybe starting another company, who knows? But I think it's entirely that. I don't think this is anything more to read into. I don't know.
No one thinks Microsoft is starting to put their stamp on Activision. Like, it may not be like a direct order or a direct, strategic kind of initiative, or it may not be anything that's being decreed by Microsoft, but like, it's a little bit of like, hey, maybe now's the time to retire, Mr. XYZ, or I don't know. Is it subtle?
It's hard to speculate, and that's definitely one of the options, right? That's one of the reasons behind this, and it's not a bad thought. Not for any personal reason or even their inability to continue in that front, but rather, like you said, it's Microsoft's property now. They could probably find other innovative, fresh kind of, creative thinkers, probably way less expensive as well, with, and it's time for that change and that transition. Again, it's pure speculation, and that's the fun of the show, right? We always put on our tinfoil hats. But I like Jeff's thought that it could be their decision to leave, their decision to try a new frontier. They're leaving at the top. It's a great time for them to go with a successful, not only just going, not only merging and having this great publicly run company, but then getting bought out again by Microsoft, right? Like, how often does that happen? Next to never. But the reverse side of it is true, where it could be them, being asked to leave because they've been outgrown. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, right? There are probably a lot of discussions about it. Probably something that they saw coming, probably something that they embraced and were ready for, but also something where Microsoft said, hey, we need to, like you said, Paul, make this ours now. So I think it's going to be good for everybody. I think it's going to be great for King and for the mobile products.
You think the new blood's a good thing, Jimmy, here in this case?
I do. I think when you bring in new blood, especially when you're a company like Microsoft, that's not something that you do lightly, and that's not a new hire that isn't vetted 20 times over with 20 checks and right? So like, you're not just hiring some guy that had a mobile property. You're hiring people with experience, people that live and breathe that culture, and people that have those fresh ideas. Any good CEO knows when it's their time to leave, right? When it's their time to let someone else take the reins and grow it in a new direction. So it's no different, I think, with other departments and other transitions.
Yeah, I was actually excited about the new blood as well. I had the same thought. There is always the threat of brain drain, and you always wonder what made people leave. And obviously, new leadership is scary. But I also think that these are companies that we've been talking about for a while that need an injection of innovation and just new ways of thinking. So I was actually quite excited to think about the prospect of someone stepping in to King, doing something different.
Jonathan says Microsoft Mobile sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. Maybe this, King's a great mobile business. Maybe that re-energizes Microsoft's mobile efforts. Marie says, could it simply be an issue of meshing with a new corporate structure? It's very possible, right? They may have had a lot of autonomy at Activision Blizzard and maybe won't have so much at Microsoft, and just don't like the idea of that, or having reporting to some middle level manager at Microsoft. He says more along with Paul's thought of putting the Microsoft stamp. Yeah, exactly. Guys, that wraps up this week's show. I can't believe we pulled it off. Again, I'm sorry we were late. Hopefully it was worth it. Hopefully you enjoyed having these superstars in the same room. And now you see the hatred and the the vitriol and all that bad blood between them. But we thank you guys for coming. We thank you for participating. Even if you just lurked, we really appreciate you guys, all of you. It makes it so much fun. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jimmy. As always, guys, just a quick reminder: we do this every Wednesday evening, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure to come show up from the beginning, because I think anyone who shows up in the middle, unfortunately, you miss so much. But definitely go watch it after the fact. All of these we put up as VODs on YouTube and everywhere you get our content. Also, make sure to follow Business of Esports on every social platform, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, or even on Reddit. Go follow our subreddit. Owen says, great job, guys. It was a ton of fun having a 3/4 LAN show. I agree. We're going to get it 4 out of 4 actually quite soon, guys, that we have some surprises in store. And Tom says, thanks. Tom, thank you, guys. Also, don't forget, watch and download the Business of Esports podcast this week's great episode. Make sure to download and subscribe Meta Woman podcast with Lindsay and the Meta Business podcast with Jeff and I. And go check out William's Office Hours with the Professor. If you liked it, or even if you have feedback, would love to hear about it. Just message me or message us anywhere on any of our social platforms. Would love the feedback on William's new show. Thank you guys, as always. We will see you next week.